Glad you could join us. As you know how we do it at first, the June 12th, 2023 episode. Appreciate you hopping on. Got a lot to cover. We're waiting on a game to start. We had a 5 o'clock first pitch, game 3, winner going to Omaha between Southern Miss and Tennessee and Hattiesburg. The game is now pushed back to 9 o'clock tonight. 9 o'clock tonight, first pitch. So as you're wrapping up with us, turn on your television set to the ESPN Family Networks. You will find that game. Should be a fun one. I will talk about that one a little bit in just a bit. We also have Blake Ruffino from Are You Serious Sports join us around 8:20 tonight to discuss LSU's run to Omaha. What does he think of the remaining field of this? I mean, LSU's next opponent is the winner of this Southern Miss Tennessee matchup tonight. So that should be fun right there. Alabama, got some news on them from the Diamond. We had 3 openings. Got Georgia filled it. Georgia, Missouri both filled their coaching vacancies. Alabama, you chalked them up today too. They announced Rob Vaughn from the University of Maryland is coming to be the head baseball coach. Greg Byrne announced, and the University of Alabama announced today. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But Grant Nelson, we had you on the Grant Nelson watch. Last week. It's official. Well, not officially from his group. Joe Tipton, who works for On3 Sports, broke it that he is coming to Alabama. It's between Alabama and Arkansas. Massive get for Alabama. I think this was a roster-changing player who could play 1 through 5. We'll talk about that in a minute. But my point, that was a roster-changing player who could have helped Alabama and Arkansas. I'll tell you where that really kind of reshuffles like each team in an SEC power rankings as we head into the 23-24 season. But a massive pickup for Nate Oates and the Crimson Tide. We're also going to talk week 0, week 1 college football betting lines. They came out, not for every team, I think about 10 games. I'm going to tell you the lines for the 2 week 0 games for the SEC. Vanderbilt and Florida have 2 matchups. Vanderbilt against Hawaii, Florida heading over to Salt Lake City to play Utah. I will talk about that going to the week 1 matchups, the ones you're really keeping your eye on. LSU, Florida State, that'll be one. We'll go over week 0, week 1 college football betting lines. But first, we always start off with transfer portal stuff. That's not going to change tonight. Grant Nelson, I told you we're going to come back to it. We're coming right back at you. Grant Nelson, the North Dakota State transfer, really a true 4, commits to Nate Oates and the Crimson Tide. Really came down to first it was between Alabama, Baylor, and Arkansas. Cut that Baylor trip, had OV'd, official visited for 48 hours to both Alabama and Arkansas last week. Took his time. I think they got back in, him and his dad, on Friday. Took the weekend to think it over. Kind of trending Alabama. Everything pointed Alabama's way from a standpoint of a fit, ability to develop to get into the NBA. I think he saw what happened. They kind of sold him on being the next Brandon Miller. Maybe not from a raw ability standpoint, from utilization standpoint. Arkansas, I think Arkansas's got a great program too, a lot to sell. I think NIL was bigger. I think Alabama surprised their NIL package surprised Arkansas. So I think it surprised how big it was. I think Arkansas offered something a little bigger. Fall college basketball, it's not real shocking, but I don't think it was too much because, as they said, him and his dad coming in, development and fit are the 2 big key aspects. I think a $300,000-$400,000 difference when he can make that up is a potential first-round lottery pick next year. There's not much difference, but massive pickup for the Crimson Tide. Biggest offseason pickup for anyone, especially from the portal standpoint, by an SEC team. Like I said, could play 1 through 5 spots, could bring the ball up, go play 5. You have to. The 6'11" transfer from North Dakota State. I think he had 20 points last year against Arkansas in his 1 matchup against the SEC. I think, like I said, whoever got this matchup, I think was going to move. Whoever got Grant Nelson here was going to move up significantly, feel really good about that roster. Alabama, for example, still has some front court issues. I mean, right now you're looking at it from a front court depth standpoint. You'd have Nick Pringle, who Alabama fans remember, get some minutes off the bench. Grant Nelson, you throw him in there. In the 2 true freshmen, Sam Walters and Muhammad Diabate. And Diabate's coming off, looks like an MCL, maybe tear, strain, didn't see. He was in a brace knee, but we're still five months out. So being an MCL is good news. He's not going to miss the season, but still, Alabama's got 2 scholarship spots open. I bet they go get some front court depth. The guys just off the top of the list when I was doing some research. Jaron Stevenson, who could reclassify to 23, high school kid, could come. The Washington State transfer, Jermaine Diang, could be a transfer depth guy. This is a depth spot. They got 2 spots. I think Bama, that last spot, will probably save it for a mid-year enrollee, kind of like they did for Davin Cosby this year. And then Jordan Brown, the Louisiana Lafayette transfer. He's a double-double machine, but I heard he's got some academically and eligibility standpoint. He could be academically ineligible. He could Jordan Brown, the ULL transfer. But how about Nate Oates, man? Let's give him credit where credit is freaking due, dude. The guy lost all three of his assistants, Charlie Henry, Brian Hodgkins, and Antoine Petway, the longtime assistants, all to head coaching jobs. Wouldn't filled it in. Dude, he's still got an opening. I think they're going to hire Preston Murphy from Creighton. Was at Creighton. But he's had a 2-year show cause for some stuff that happened with some of that FBS. But I think it's going to be their big-time recruiter. Hired an assistant coach from the NBA level from the New Orleans Pelicans. I think Nate Oates and them are going to have some really good developers from this standpoint. I think Preston Murphy, who is rumored to be the assistant add-on, is going to be the big-time recruiter to kind of make up for Brian Hodgkins, who left to go be the head man at Arkansas State. But got to give it credit. I mean, Nate Oates, since the season ended, since the San Diego State Sweet 16 losses, lost 3 coaches, lost Brandon Miller to be expected, Noah Clowney was to be expected. But the shocker, Charles Bediako. I mean, Nate Oates said at spring meetings he was not anticipating that. He understands they got to go address some front court needs. But, man, as I stand right now, I was doing it before the show. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I was going to run through kind of where I thought the SEC, not 1 through 14, just kind of the top range of what I thought kind of the SEC. Right now, if we were going to play a game tomorrow, and again, this roster building stuff's not over, but you're starting to feel about you're about 85, 90%. You know who's going to be on your team's roster. Right now, I'd go Alabama as the favorite heading into the league right now. I would go the University of Alabama is the favorite heading in right now. Then I would go Tennessee. Tennessee second. Always like the ceiling of the Volunteers. You got Vescovy back, Josiah Jordan-James coming back. I like those guys heading in. You got my guy, Zakai Ziegler, coming off an injury. I like the ceiling there. Arkansas coming in at number 3. They would be number 1 for me right now if they would have got Grant Nelson. But again, they got Marks for the Houston transfer. They lose Jordan Walsh to get Devo Davis back. They obviously lost Anthony Black. But they also, you got to remember, they get Trevon Brazile back. The Missouri transfer tore his ACL in non-conference play. That was a big loss for them. Arkansas would have been better this year. Wouldn't have finished 10th in the league if they had him back. He's back. He's going to be a big addition for him next year. So I like the Hogs coming in at 3. 4, I think it's A&M. You got Wade Taylor coming back. Guys like that. I think Tyrese Radford coming back. Julius Marble coming back. You like guys like that. I mean, Henry Coleman coming back. They got a lot back. They got 4 out of 5 starters back A&M. You like Buzz Williams' team heading into the 23-24 season. Then after Alabama at 1, Tennessee at 2, Arkansas at 3, A&M at 4, I think it's a big cluster. I mean, I'm naming 5 teams here. Kentucky, they only have like 7 scholarship players, 8 scholarship players right now, a bunch of freshmen, not going to win in postseason with a bunch of freshmen. They signed the number 1. Cal signed the number 1 class in the country, but it's a bunch of freshmen. Tony Reeves maybe get into the portal. I don't know about Kentucky at that standpoint. Auburn, I mean, they got Janai Broome back. I think they're going to miss Wendell Hudson a little more, or Wendell Green a little more than they think. I wasn't a big fan of Wendell Green. Don't think he's a great player. Is Denver Jones that guy? I mean, he's a defensive liability, but I think he can get his points, but I don't think it's just going to be as easy as a transition as some Auburn people think. I think Auburn's going to be solid. I think they're going to be a tournament team. They got Jalen Williams back. Also think Alan Flanagan's going to be a loss to him. That's Ole Miss's game. Remember his dad, Wes Flanagan, got hired under Chris Beard. Allen decided to transfer, saw that coming. I think he was their best 3-and-D player for Auburn last year. I think he had their most NBA upside. But key is they have Janai Broome back, which gives them solid stability. Him and Tolu Smith will be the best 2 big men in the league, I think, heading into next year. Mississippi State got everybody back. They didn't do a lot of portal damage because once they got Tolu Smith back, they got Daniels back. Got a lot of guys back. Next year. Chris Jans is going to be excited about that team. I'm excited to see what they do next year. I don't expect them to be in a play-in game next year. I expect them to be in the solidly in the tournament next year. I would have them in that race from that 5 spot. I mean, you got Kentucky, Auburn, Mississippi State, and then Florida. I think Todd Golden did a tremendous job in the portal, raising the floor for that room. I mean, you're adding guys like Tyrese Samuel and then Walter Clayton, the transfer guard from Iona, can shoot lights out. I think they did a really good job in the portal. After that, it's a crapshoot. But I think you got Bama sitting at 1 right now, heading in the league play. If we were playing a game tomorrow, I'm going with Bama. Second, got Tennessee. You can't go without the veterans in the league. Santiago Vescovy, Josiah Jordan-James played a lot of basketball in this league. And then Ziegler coming back off injury. Like I said, Arkansas got enough key pieces back, I think. Got enough veteran guys back. Trevon Brazile is going to be the big name for them to watch to take that next step forward. Like you're coming off the injury. Then A&M, a lot of guys back. I would maybe move them ahead a little bit more. But I like them. Then after that, like I said, total crapshoot. Kentucky's going to be young. Not a lot of guys on roster right now in general. Just 7-8 spots. Like I said, Auburn, Janai Broome, key cog, but I think they lost one of their better players Aiden Holloway is going to step up at point guard for them. They got some questions, but they do have a good foundation in Janai Broome. That's why I got him. Mississippi State a lot back. Tolu Smith, Daniels, Chris Jans, second year. I think they take another step. And then obviously Florida, like what Todd Golden and the boys have done in the portal, especially with Clayton from Iota. That's where we stand right now. It's a massive get for Alabama. I think it's the biggest get of anybody so far from the standpoint, unless you have a guy returning. Like I think Santiago Vescovi was big. It was back. It was big for Tennessee to get him back. But again, Great Nelson to Alabama, massive pickup, changes that roster tremendously. It'd been a little scary for NATO, especially from a front court standpoint, heading into 23-24 season. But you got to feel good about their backcourt too. Maybe one of the best backcourts in the country after they added Aaron Estrada to go with Mark Sears, Javon Quinterly, and Rylan Griffin even playing the three. I like Alabama a lot with this one. It's changed it a lot. Super regional action. It was super regional weekend this past weekend all around the country in college baseball. There were 16 teams left. Right now, as we speak, we got 2 tickets punched to Omaha. We're starting it off. Tennessee Southern Miss, Game 3, first pitch must be at 9 o'clock tonight. Should be a fun, exciting atmosphere. These two teams have been going at it. The fan bases on social media all week. I mean, if you're Southern Miss, you had to feel good about where you were when you were at 4-0 in the 4th inning. Yeah, you had to feel really good about where you were heading into that. You had to feel good about where you were heading into that matchup. You had your ace, top 3 starter in the country. You had Game 1. You're at 4-0 by the top of the 4th. Just could not close it. I thought Tennessee would win this one in 3. I'm going to continue. Why would I stray away from that? I think they got the better pitching depth right now. But again, this was the most intriguing super regional out of them all. This could go either way. It's baseball. Weirdest sport there is out there. One game, winner take all. Who knows? But I liked where Southern Miss was in the 4th inning in Game 2 when they had a 1-0 lead in the series. Does it get any better than that? Did victory fall through your hands? It's where you feel. You had them right where you wanted them. Tennessee's got a little momentum, but again, should be first pitch in probably about 45 minutes as we're wrapping up the show. Go tune in. Should be really fun. But some other teams, Florida swept South Carolina 5-4, 4-0. Florida looks like a team on a mission right now. Hurston Waldrop made an outstanding start in Game 2, striking out 13, going 8 complete. I'm reading right here to send the Gators to Omaha. Just seems like since the SEC tournament, whenever they needed a big start, a big hit, a big play, it's either Waldrop getting a big start, it's either Neely coming out of the bullpen, it's Sprout pitching incredible, Caglion getting a big start, Wyatt Langford getting a big hit, BT Riopel getting crucial hits, stuff like that. Josh Rivera getting big time hits, making big plays. Wyatt Langford out in center field. It's just Florida feels like that team that could win it all right now. They're a very, very, very complete team. They're going to Omaha, played really well. I thought they'd sweep South Carolina, get revenge from the sweep in the regular season, and they did. LSU swept Kentucky 14-0 on Saturday, and then 8-3 on Sunday. LSU did it, and it seemed like there was a big weight lifted off their shoulder. There's a lot of pressure on this team with all the transfers. You bring in Paul Skeens, Tommy White, you got Dylan Cruz. We'll talk to Blake here in a minute when he gets on here about 5-10 minutes, what his thoughts were. In fact, we got some good questions for him on how things are in the Bayou as they head to Omaha this upcoming week. Again, LSU is going to face the winner of the Southern Miss Tennessee game tonight. Congratulations, Tennessee or LSU, or Tennessee or Southern Miss. Your reward is you get Paul Skeens in Game 1 on Saturday night, most likely in Omaha. But other than that, LSU kind of feel like a weight. That team just there's a big check the box. They hadn't been since 2018. It's a big check the box. We did that. Just kind of felt it, seeing them celebrate after a lot of emotion, a lot of guys crying. Kind of just felt like this was like, hey, we did it, guys. Now let's go play. Let's go finish this off, and let's go win it. Let's go win it all. I'm excited to ask Blake his thoughts on that. Kind of felt like LSU's pitching staff, really since that Sunday against Mississippi State, they lost that unexpected series to Mississippi State at home. They kind of stepped it up. I know Wes Johnson left him to go be the head coach at Georgia last week. Maybe it's kind of like, hey, it's us against the world. I saw Guidry walked into Jay Johnson's office. Jay Johnson was saying, hey, coach, I don't care who calls the pitches. I can strike people out. Maybe a little chip on that shoulder from LSU's pitching staff, and they need it. Ole Miss's pitching staff wasn't dominant last year, but they had DeLucia and the boys step up last year when they needed to. DeLucia started the season out of the bullpen. Hunter Elliott came out of nowhere. You had most national championship teams have guys come out of nowhere. Now, I do think the LSU side of the bracket is the toughest. You're going to Wake Forest out of there, the winner of Stanford, Texas out of there, and then the winner of Southern Miss, Tennessee. The other side of the bracket's complete, Florida side. We'll go over that in just a minute. But again, think LSU's playing really good baseball here in the last 2.5 weeks. I think LSU's playing really good baseball here in the last 2.5 weeks, and it's showing. Them in Florida, real similar. I think Florida's got a little bit more deeping. They're a little bit deeper in the pitching staff. But again, you just got to be good. You just got to be better for the next week and a half. Screw with the rest of the season or the season before. LSU, it's now. Your season's the next week and a half. Doesn't matter what you did the 2 or 3 weeks before. You did enough to get to Omaha. You pitch your best, and you help your offense, who's going to produce runs. LSU's got a real shot to win it all, and that's why I picked them to win it all, because I think they got the best lineup 1 through 9. But LSU on their way to Omaha, first time since 2018. Guys like Guidry, Riley Cooper at the pen, just stepping up for the Tigers, heading to Omaha. It's big time. Kind of happy for those guys. Kind of felt a lot of pressure for them, and it felt like a lot of weight was lifted off their shoulder. Only thing I'm disappointed is, unless we get into a real deep match, we're not going to see Paul Skeens versus Wake Forest. That would disappoint me if we didn't see that. I really want to see that. We're not going to see that game 1, obviously. It is what it is. We can't control that. Maybe we see that further down the line when they get maybe the Final Four winners bracket kind of day there. Alabama, their season's done. Wake Forest swept Alabama 5-4 and just dismantled the Tide 22-5. Can't remember Alabama getting beat that bad in any sport. That was bad. It was bad. But again, great job of that team. Overachieved. A lot of veteran guys. Jason Jackson did a phenomenal job kind of honing that in the last month and a half since the Brad Bohannon betting scandal. But Rhett Loud or Josh Hartle were way too much. But it'll be interesting to see, but Wake Forest does in a bigger ballpark. Now, I say that their pitching staff keeps teams in check in that ballpark. If Wake Forest can hit them out just as easy, why can't some other teams? I was very impressed with Wake Forest. Not an easy out in that 1 through 9 lineup either, but it will be interesting. I mean, this is a staff between Louder and Hartle that have 2.84 team ERA in that small ballpark. I mean, that left side of this Omaha bracket I'm about to show you is just tough, man. I'm about to show you right now. We're about to pull up this, share my screen. So as you see, Wake Forest is advanced. They swept Alabama, so they're in. They're waiting to face the winner of the game tonight, Stanford and Texas. Texas taking to game 1. Stanford throwing their ace pitcher with 150 pitches or something I saw last night. So winner take all in that one. LSU, we talked about it. They advanced by sweeping Kentucky. They'll take on the winner of tonight's midnight special, Southern Miss and Tennessee from Hattiesburg. We also have Florida advancing on the other side of the bracket. They're in Omaha. They'll face the Who's, Virginia. They're very familiar territory. I think these are the best 2 teams in that side of the bracket. And then you got the Oral Roberts Golden Eagles advancing to take TCU, who's playing really well. Not shocked me if TCU came out of that bracket. I like Florida and Tennessee out of that, TCU out of the right side of the bracket. Still need to see how the 2 teams shake out on the left side of the bracket. But if I'm picking right now, I'm going to go the Final Four is going to be Wake Forest and LSU on the left side of the bracket. I don't really care who each team plays. Then I'm going to go on the other side of the bracket, Florida versus TCU. I think we're having an SEC versus SEC National Championship Series. And that's not because this is an SEC podcast. Seriously, I think these are the best 2 teams right now. Florida versus LSU. They did not play in a series this year. They've not played all year. I know it's a shocker. They've not played all year. Still going to go with my LSU pick that I picked before the tournament. Right now, though, I think Florida may be the most deep staff overall as we stand right now, though. Checking in, though, before we get Blake in here, we'll go back, review some more super regional stuff. But again, we got 2 SEC teams locked in. We're guaranteed that. LSU heading after sweeping Kentucky. Florida's after sweeping South Carolina. And then we're waiting to see on Tennessee. Alabama couldn't get the job done. Wake Forest is really good. But Tennessee, I like Tennessee tonight. I think it's going to be a really fun game. The game's starting at 9 o'clock. Winner take all. Scott Berry, Southern Miss's head coach. It's his last game. We got to see some fireworks. This game's going to be exciting tonight. If you can get you some coffee, get you some caffeine, stay up tonight, I highly recommend it. It's going to be a fun game. Should be a great atmosphere. Not many people work today in Hattiesburg. I doubt you see many people tomorrow working in Hattiesburg. Should be a fun environment. But again, we could have 3 SEC teams now, but 2 guaranteed as LSU and Florida already punched their tickets. Alabama, before we get Blake on, Alabama hired they announced today they hired Maryland's coach Rob Vaughn. Thought he did a really good job. I mean, thought it was going to be Dan McDonald from some sources I was hearing. I felt really good about that. Maybe some things changed. I don't think the money may not got there because I saw Rob Vaughn was making $300 at Maryland. There's no way they bumped him up to $1 million. Expect his salary to come out anywhere from 650 to 700, maybe 725 range. I think McDonald, you have to go for $1 million because that's what he was getting at Louisville. Maybe it just didn't work out. I don't have the answers to that, but my sources were telling me Dan McDonald. But Rob Vaughn, 37, young guy, give you the boring stats, 183 and 115 in his 6 years at Maryland. He's been there for 11 seasons. He's been a part of 2 of the greatest seasons in Maryland history. They hosted a regional last year. They were the 2 seed in the Wake Forest regional. They got eliminated there. I kind of like it though. He's a young guy, 37 years old, with 6 years of head coaching experience in the Big Ten. This program needs some kind of an edge, not like a Tennessee edge. Don't hear me that where Tony Vitello is a young chippy guy. His team plays like that. And I think he's kind of backed that off a little bit this year. But Alabama needs a little bit of an edge. And you know, one of my favorite parts about this is they're keeping Jason Jackson as the pitching coach. I mean, Jason Jackson, you heard it every time. He didn't really want to be a head coach, and I think they're going to give him a pay bump. He's going to stay on, keep some of Alabama's young arms, maybe some guys at third base like Colby Shelton. Got to keep Caden Rose around, guys like Alton Davis in the bullpen. There's some core nucleuses between Ben Hess coming back, Luke Coleman, some guys like that in Alabama's pitching staff, though, and some bullpen guys. You like Alabama's staff next year, their pitching staff. They're going to replace some guys like Drew Williamson, Tommy Seidel, like I said, Jim Jarvis, guys like that, and Andrew Pinckney. But pitching staff should be good. I think that's why Jason Jackson was kept. Also, Maryland, I think, finished an ERA like 170th in the country. Like 5.23 wasn't great. So not shocking he didn't bring his pitching coach, Vaughn. But Rob Vaughn is Alabama's new baseball coach, young, energetic guy. I like it. If it wasn't Dan McDonald, this is the next best thing. I give this a B+. Really wanted him to bring his hitting coach over as they just raked. But again, he got promoted to the head coach at Maryland. So good for him. Solid hire for Greg Burns and the University of Alabama. I think this is their first time in a while with facilities being on the way up. It's top half of the league now. I think this is their real shine for Alabama to show they can do some things consistently. Hell, they made a super regional last year with an interim coach after their head coach was betting on him. Alabama can start being a more consistent baseball program, and I believe they will. So let's see if we can get Blake on here, though. Let me send in the link, get him on. Join the show. Get him on here. All right, so we will wait for Blake to get on. He was going to get on around this time frame. But anyways, going back to the Rob Vaughn, I like it. I really do. I mean, we'll sit here and talk about a little bit about this while we wait for Blake to get on. I mean, you could have went Dan McDonald, but I don't know. I was feeling good about that. And that would have been a grand slam hire. Again, this isn't a bad one. He's 37 years old, young guy, very mature guy. I went and watched some interviews. But I think the key is Jason Jackson getting retained. That makes this job. That gives it a plus. I think it would have been a B. Now it's a B+. But Blake, we got you on, baby.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're
What's
on,
happening, Dave?
What's up, man? How's it feel? How's it feel the Tigers heading to Omaha, baby?
It feels good, coming off the show a little bit late, hopping in here with you, but it feels good, man, to, haven't been there since 2017. So it feels amazing, man. Feels great.
Now, I was predicting it. I had a guy on for College Baseball Nation last week. We were talking about it a little bit. I just did not see LSU losing that series at home to Kentucky. I mean, I know they already beat Kentucky early in the regular season. If LSU was going to lose at home, it honestly didn't feel like this team was going to lose in their season at home. Obviously you're plugged in down there, boots on the ground. But it kind of leads me to my first question for you. Does it just we talked about it before you joined the show when I was reviewing the Super Regionals. Does it kind of feel like this team had somewhat of like some weight lifted off its shoulders after just being like, hey, we checked the box. We got to Omaha. Let's breathe here. Is that kind of the feel, or am I overthinking that? It just kind of looked like it was very emotional last night.
Yeah, no, you're not overthinking it, brother. I mean, you could tell from Jay Johnson in the post game, right? Like you could tell the weight was lifted off of his shoulders. And listen, it's lifted off of Dylan Cruz, who had the late hit, and the heroics to give you the insurance runs. It's for so many people. And like, look, when you know this, and especially in sports, when you are in a pressure cooker for 12 straight weeks, okay, and you're the number one team in the country 8 of those weeks, and then the last 4 you kind of stumble a little bit, it's discouraging, right? Like, it's discouraging. And so for you to come back and be undefeated so far and post real postseason play, yeah, it makes you feel good. And look, the biggest, like, you knew what you'd get from Tommy Tanks, you knew what you'd get from Dylan Cruz, you know what you'd get from Paul Skeens, but it's been the things that you worried about all season that you thought was going to hurt you that wind up not hurting you, right? Like the bullpen, what you're doing in the field. I mean, Jordan Thompson was the number 2 play on SportsCenter last night from the Derek Jeter type play. So, yeah, I mean, I feel relieved. I don't know if anybody I don't know if anybody.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I'm relieved, to be real with you.
No, I mean, because it's been since 2018. It just kind of like before the season, it was almost set like, oh, this team's in Omaha, which, as you know, again, you said we talked about playing sports. As you know, that adds extra pressure with all these transfers they brought in. They were unanimous preseason number 1. I just thought it was kind of like, honestly, maybe you may see LSU come out there and loose as hell in that first game. Just kind of like, I don't know. I mean, obviously with Skeens pitching, you always feel pretty good, but like, I don't know. I could see them Saturday. I'm hoping that's a Saturday night game.
Yeah, it's a Saturday night game at 6 for LSU versus Tennessee. Yeah, they announced it.
Oh, yeah, so it'll be Stanford in Texas for the winner of that versus Wake in the first one.
Yeah, at 1 p.m. That's right.
Interesting. Guy, I'm hoping we can maybe get a Skeens Wake Forest matchup here, dude. I mean, we'd have to get that maybe in the winner's bracket or in the Final Four.
Yeah, I really want to see their ace versus Skeens. I mean, I call him Thor, the North Carolina Thor, but I mean, you want to see it, but you got to get to him first.
Correct.
You know, if being an LSU fan, being in Omaha has taught you anything, you better not lose game 1, baby. You better not lose game 1, because the likelihood of you getting out of that loser's bracket is not likely.
No.
Where do you go? Right. I mean, look, you probably should hold Skeens for Wake Forest and just pray to God you have enough to get past Tennessee or Southern Miss. And maybe you do, because Dolander, I don't think will go on Friday. You know, like on Saturday, I don't think that would happen. Maybe he would. I don't know. But, yeah, I want to – if Dolander goes, though, like if Dolander goes for Tennessee, you got to throw Skeens. Okay, I know Dolander's been down, but it only takes one time that he shows you that he could be a number 1 overall pick, and you're like, well, shit, why did we throw Ty – oh, sorry if I shouldn't have cursed, but, well, you're damn, good. why did we throw Ty Floyd? So, only takes one, man.
No, you're right. You would hate to go try to steal it. You take a mile and they're only giving you an inch kind of standpoint from an analogy standpoint. I mean, SEC tournament, regional play, but it's like you said, you're in the final 8. I mean, LSU's better than Southern Miss and Tennessee.
And it's not even a Skeens thing at this point. If Stanford wins, I think in Stanford up right now, I could be wrong. I hadn't been paying attention.
They were when I went on.
So if Stanford right now is still winning, you got to throw your ace against Stanford so you don't lose.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, so I guess it all really determines on what you think you need to do. But look, we have questioned Jay Johnson enough our last 2 weeks. You're not going to get it from me again.
No, you're absolutely right. I think you got to go skiing game 1. Yeah, I think you're playing with fire a little bit. But the pitching staff, as we know, they lost Wes Johnson, going to take the head job at the University of Georgia. Do you feel like since that Mississippi State Sunday series, where they dropped that series 2 out of 3 unexpectedly, do you think the pitching staff has actually been pretty solid since that? Like, it hasn't been like it was an issue going in, and maybe this past weekend kind of felt like they had a little bit of an edge to them. Like, it's kind of like us versus the world. Our pitching coach left. I saw Jay Johnson said Guidry came into his office and said, honestly, he didn't give a damn who was calling pitches. He's going to strike people's asses out. Stuff like so. You think it's kind of an edge?
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like that. But look, I think that Wes has quite honestly been a transformation for us, especially there, because it's not Skeens that you're looking at. It's Gavin Guidry, who closed the game out last night. It's Thatcher Hurd. It's Ty Floyd. So I think that this team is playing more with an edge, especially in the bullpen. I know what I'm getting from Skeens. I know what I'm getting from Floyd. I already know. I know. I feel kind of pretty confident now. I know what I'm getting in Thatcher Hurd. He might strike you out 8 times, but he's going to give up a couple runs. But you know what? He's going to deliver for you if you need him to.
I feel like
So,
watching yesterday, you feel like Jay Johnson trusts Riley Cooper a lot.
oh God, yes. Big boy coming in to pitch. Listen. If he needs somebody out of the pen he really needs somebody, Big boy's coming in. And the Bayou David Wells is coming. David Wells is coming in, baby. I mean, that man is a Popeye's biscuit away from playing offensive line. Okay, he's a Popeye's biscuit away from playing center in the SEC.
So where's Christian Little at? Is he not play? Is he not pitched any at all?
He left his stuff in Vandy.
He left. All right. That's what I hadn't been looking for. He's just a name that literally just popped in my mind. It's like, what was he like?
Yeah, he left all his mojo in Omaha when he went.
Jeez. No, you're right, dude. The bullpen.
I mean, look, Dave, you need him. You're gonna need him if you're gonna make a run. Christian Little's gonna pitch. I promise you. You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice.
I think it's setting up right now. I picked LSU to win it all when the tournament started, when I went through the whole bracket about a week ago. I think it's going to be LSU Florida in the championship series. I'm going to stick with LSU. I think Florida's pitching staff's a little deeper. So if I was betting them straight up, I may go Florida in that championship series, but I'm going to stick with my original pick. I'm going to go LSU.
And if LSU plays Florida again in a natty type scenario and LSU loses it like they did in 2017, buddy, it ain't going to be good, buddy.
No, that'd be a fun. That left side of the bracket so much. I think it's much more difficult than the right side that Florida's on. Now TCU's the wild card. I think they've been playing really well.
Yeah, I mean Virginia. What do you really get from them?
Yeah.
Look, I mean, at some point we got to take Oral Roberts seriously.
Yeah. No, I mean you're at this point. Everybody's to be taken serious.
Right. So I don't know, man. I get to a point where. If that's the matchup, Dave, if that's the ultimate matchup, and you got to go against Florida, and LSU can seek some revenge, and getting that 17 loss, boy, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, LSU could go on a revenge tour in Omaha. If they got Southern Miss in the first round, they could avenge that from last year. And like you said, avenge the Florida championship series loss from 18.
Yeah, and then you get in a scenario where. You know, even with Wake Forest to some extent, even though you hadn't played them, you know, all year, this is what LSU's heard. I've heard it. Oh, yeah, LSU, it's just by happenstance that they're the number one overall team. They don't deserve that, you know, whatever. Like, they've never deserved that. It's always been Wake Forest or somebody else. And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to find out.
Yeah.
We're going to find out. And Dave, I'll tell you, Wake Forest does not scare me more than Florida does.
No, they don't. I mean, watching them this week against Alabama, I was interested to see Louder. I think Skeens is a much tougher. Louder's his own location. He's good. Don't get me wrong. He's solid. I honestly thought their number 2 guy was honestly better once he settled into that third inning.
Right. I think Hurston Waldrop and your boy from Florida is tough.
Sprout. Yeah, and Caglione.
Right. I mean, and God bless it. Caglione's throwing 98 from the left side. So, yeah. I mean, you're one shake away from good googly moogly, Grandpa. I mean, I don't know. Who?
No, you're right. All right. Hey,
I literally have chest pains. I'm
putting you on the spot here. Is Dylan Cruz the greatest LSU baseball player of all time? Or is this to be determined? You got to wait to see what he does.
No, I don't think it's to be determined because if he went 0-2 in Omaha, I think it wouldn't matter. I think for a consensus, if they won in Omaha, yes. From everybody. For me, yes. I think he's better than Todd. I think he's better than Pontiff. Yeah, I think so. I think he maybe not best player, maybe best position player. I'll agree with Ben McDonald there because, listen, I mean, you know, I don't know. That's a tough one. It really is a tough one. I just say retire 3, man. Retire 3. That's all I want him to do. He is the only player in SEC history to win back-to-back SEC Player of the Years. That's all he needed. And God forbid if he won the Golden Spikes Award. God forbid. Now, I think go ahead.
Who are the top 5 LSU baseball players of all time, just off the top right now in your head?
Todd, in no specific order, my Mount Rushmore would be Todd, Ben McDonald.
You going Bregman or no?
Honestly, no. I think Cruz and maybe put me on the spot.
You said Wally Pontiff.
Maybe. Yeah.
Well, it's like you said, are you talking everyday position player? Are you throwing in pitchers in there too? Yeah, I mean, you kind of get a little.
Maybe Aaron Nola, maybe. But man, Bregman was just so god dog good, man. I don't know. I'd have to think about that, Dave, to be honest with you. But Ben, Todd, and Cruz are definitely on it for me. It comes down to who's that 4th, 5th, 6th guy.
All right, so last baseball question. I'm going to give you one football question before we get out of here.
Let's have it.
I'm putting you on the spot right now again. I've just asked you, Dylan Cruz, best player in LSU history.
Okay.
Does this LSU baseball team get it done? Do they win it all? As we speak today, you don't know you're playing in the first game, but you can kind of weigh. I mean, you keep up with SEC baseball. You're in the Southeast too, so you know Southern Miss, especially from last year.
Oh, I mean, my cousin closed for him. I mean, my cousin was their closer. Clay Tajon closed for him a couple years ago and was with Scott Berry. Scott Berry was his head coach. I mean, I pay more attention to Southern Miss than I want to be really.
Yeah, that's how a lot of my family on my mom's side all went to Southern Miss, so they're actually out there right now. But does this LSU team get it done? They win the national. They're hoisting the trophy here in about another 2 weeks.
I never pick against LSU, so yes, never.
You're going with them.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. Hey, I'm with you. I picked it in the front. I just thought they had the best. There's not an easy, as you know, dude. I mean, you do a show on it. I mean, there's not an easy out, dude, in that lineup. I just think they are the most talented team, and I'm like, they can just get their pitchers. If they can get the pitching staff, the bullpen playing well at the right time, they will win. I think they'll win it all. They're the best team.
If their bullpen and bats stay the way that they've been, even if they're just consistently where they've been, they will win it all. Yeah, they will win it all because Wake Forest isn't deep enough.
No, I'm with you.
The only team I agree with you, Dave. The only team that scares me the most, really, I think that you can take down Wake Forest. We'll see there. The team that does scare me the most is Florida. I'm with you there. I 1,000% agree. I think that's the right take there. I mean, because that would be the only hiccup I have.
Yeah, and that's why, like I said before you even got on, it's like I know this is an SEC podcast, but I'm not picking LSU and Florida to play just because it's two. I really do think they're the two best teams right now.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Last question. We're getting out of here again. Appreciate you joining us.
No problem.
What does LSU from a football standpoint transition the mind to the gridiron? What does LSU have to do in 2023 to repeat as SEC West champs? One thing that you're like non-negotiable. We got to do.
Run the ball. Run the ball.
Running game improve.
Well, not even improve. I continue to run at the same clip because I think that they're going to be better in the air. If you run for 187 yards like you did a year ago and you improve what you're doing in the air, you're going to win. You're going to win it all. I fully believe they could do that. Now, here's the counteract to that. They got to get better on the defensive line, Dave. Everybody talked about, LSU secondary is down. Were they? They were number 32 in the country in passing yards allowed last year. Texas A&M was number 1 in the country. You had some LSU from a defensive back standpoint went from 101st in the country to 30th in the country. I think they're better there. I think they got more talent there. I think that they got to get better on the defensive line. They can't rely on Harold Perkins every single snap to get pressure, even though he can. You got to get pressure and generate pressure from other places. I just think if they continue to run the ball that they're running it, I think their passing game will improve. But defensively is going to be the biggest question up front for me. Can you execute there? That's it. Can you execute up front? LSU has been down. Even in 2019, they were down. The depth up front defensively, they have to get better there. I think they have.
Perfect. Well, appreciate you, Blake. Everybody, Blake Ruffino joining us from Are You Serious Sports. Appreciate you joining us. Talk a little LSU heading to Omaha. snuck in a little LSU football question. Blake, appreciate you, man. We'll get you on here soon. You have a great evening. Hey, and have fun watching to see who's the LSU Tigers are facing in their first game in Omaha.
No question, man. We'll talk soon. Thank you for having me.
Later, brother. Blake, good dude, man. Good dude. Boots on the ground in that area. I think he's right outside. I think he's right outside Baton Rouge, Acadiana, Lafayette area, I believe. Don't misquote me on that. But good, connected with him. Does a show every night. Really connected down there in the bayou. Just wanted to bring it, see what in Louisiana, what was going on. What were the thoughts? And I guess I was right a little bit. I think I kind of get that sense from watching that team celebrate, embracing a teammate, hugging Jay Johnson, parents hugging their kids, their players crying. It just felt like it was a big emotional win, a lot of weight lifted off that team. So I'm interested to see how loose they play really on Saturday and throughout their time in Omaha. I mean, I would play real loose if I was playing in front of Paul Skeens either. Again, they will play the winner of tonight's matchup in Hattiesburg between the Tennessee Volunteers and the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. But moving on, last segment before we get you out of here. Let you go 19 minutes before, really probably closer to 25 minutes for first pitch of Southern Miss Tennessee. But I saw some week 1 football odds, some college football odds coming out. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We got 9 lines here for you. 9 lines for you. We got 2 SEC teams starting week 0. I'm going to tell you which ones I like here. We got Vanderbilt minus 18 hosting Hawaii. Remember, they went to Hawaii last year and just dismantled the Rainbow Warriors, the Warriors. I like Vanderbilt again. I think one of the easiest bets in all of college football this year, especially from an SEC perspective. The over-under wins Vanderbilt 3.5. Load up on Clark Lee and the Commodores. They're going to get 4 wins, if not 5. Bowl eligibility, not really to go there yet. I think they cover minus 18 week 0 against Hawaii in the nasty Nashville, Tennessee. The other week 0 game, Florida plus 10 heading to Salt Lake City. Utah, the Utes, Kyle Whittingham and the boys trying to avenge that week 1 loss on Labor Day last year. Anthony Richardson's best game is kind of coming out party. They're giving the Gators 10 that week 0, that Saturday night matchup. I like Utah. Right now. Give me that 10. Give me that 10. I could see it being close, maybe 13, 14. I think Florida's going to come in a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. But is there anything? It's like, say Florida did go play decent there and still lost. I fully do not expect Florida to win that game, by the way. I'm on record right now. I've said it at every show. I don't think Florida's going to win that game. But let's go say they grind it out. It's a close game. And other people go, man, Florida's not as bad as they are, as people were predicting. Florida's not as bad as people were predicting. We overreact in college football so much from week 1 to week 2. We overreact. Everybody was on the Florida bandwagon, myself last year. I'm pointing here too, looking in the mirror. Look at Florida. Ended up going, 6-7? Be careful. Be hesitant. I could see a lot of people kind of getting back on the Gator bandwagon. They just play Utah close because the expectations for Florida this year, and rightfully so, are not high. Vegas has them at 5.5 total wins right now. It's not just me. But I would take the Utes minus 10 right now. Week 1, we're going to get to some high spreads here. A little similar surprising. Kentucky hosting Ball State minus 26. It's a little high first game right there. I'd probably take the Cats, though. Devin Leary coming in under center. Liam Cohen, the new OC. He's not really new. He took a year at it. He left Lexington for a year, went to the Rams. Now he's back. So we'll see how that goes. But Kentucky, they're giving Ball State 26. I'd probably take Kentucky in this one at home at Kroger. South Carolina getting 2 in Charlotte against North Carolina. This will be one of the big week 1 matchups. Spencer Rattler versus Drake May. Could be 2 of the at least for one for sure. Drake May will be a highly regarded draft pick next year. This is a big year for Spencer Rattler. Plus 2. I don't know. This is a great line. I'm not ready to give it that, but that's the line right now. If I was going to predict, I'm going to go North Carolina. I think this may be North Carolina's year. People sleeping on them a little bit. Everybody recognizes Drake May, but I think recruiting here in the last 2 or 3 years is picked up. They're deeper than people are expecting on the offensive and defensive line. Chip Lindsey, new OC. It's in Charlotte. That really matters. South Carolina beat him a couple years ago. I think Muschamp second to last year in Charlotte in his first game. North Carolina got that win. Mistaken. North Carolina got that in Mac Brown's first game ever. They actually won that, upset Muschamp that actually put him almost out the door. But again, we got a rematch of that in Charlotte, the Panther Stadium, Bank of America Stadium. I take North Carolina right now. A little bit of a sleeper in the ACC. They're giving Middle Tennessee State 39 against Alabama. Alabama favored by 39 points week 1. Alabama doesn't cover a lot of those big spreads. Middle Tennessee State went on the road and beat Miami. I know Miami was bad last year, but it's a lot of points week one. They'll be rotating quarterbacks probably between two guys at least. Two of the three between Buckner, Milroe, and Simpson. They'll be rotating. And I don't think they'll show a lot because they got Texas coming in that next Saturday night. It wouldn't shock me if the Blue Raiders hung around. I would go Blue Raiders. Give me the plus 39, almost 40 points. Give me that. That's a lot week one when they're going to be rotating. Alabama's not going to be trying to go dominate these guys like they tried to dominate in the first game last year. They're not going to do that. They don't have that. I would not shock me. Would not shock me. If I seen crazier things than Alabama beat Middle Tennessee State by 39 points, yeah, absolutely. I just think this is one of those games Alabama's going to be very vanilla, ease these guys into some game action. Moving on, God, how bad is UMass have to be? Auburn and Hugh Freeze's first game, favored by 40 at Jordan-Hare against UMass. I'll take minus 40. I'll take Auburn. I think UMass is that bad, but I'll take Auburn in this one. Very high line. That shows you how bad UMass is more than Auburn's good in my opinion. But I would take the Tigers in this one. Hugh Freeze on the opposite end of Saban. Bama's giving up 39 to Middle Tennessee State. I think Hugh Freeze goes and tries to make a statement in that first game. Try to get some momentum. It'd be smart. Alabama doesn't have to do that. They're trying to settle in, see who fits the system better. I think you're going to see 2 out of those 3, like I said. But from an Auburn perspective, Auburn's going to go try to put a ton of points up and embarrass UMass just to get some excitement around Hugh Freeze's first game. I don't blame them. I think they'll go all out and try to – I think they'll cover that. I really do. Texas A&M, another 40er. Minus 40 against New Mexico. New Mexico's terrible. I think A&M may do the same thing. Try to get excitement, feel good before they go to Miami the next week. Bobby Petrino and them. I think, 40 points is a lot, but I think they'll do it. I think A&M's going to try to go make a statement offensively, get people excited. You don't want to be heading into Miami that next week with offensive questions. I think Connor Williams going to have a big game. Evan Stewart's way too athletic for those guys. I expect a big game at A&M. I think A&M and Auburn are going to come out in those games and try to make a statement. It's not Jimbo's obviously first year, but it's first year where he's trying to make some excitement, get some fans lighten up the scoreboard with some points. I think Jimbo and Bobby Petrino need to be on the same page and do not struggle coming out here against New Mexico. I don't think they will. I would take A&M to cover that 40. But man, it's a lot of points. Those were the lines I was telling you about. Giving up a lot of points week one. Some of these SEC schools, Alabama, Auburn, and Texas A&M, all damn near giving up 40. Tennessee. I thought this was a little bit of a high one, but I'd take Tennessee in this one. Minus 28 against Virginia. Neutral site game at Nissan Stadium in Nashville. I don't think Virginia's going to be very good. I think Tennessee, this is a game, Tennessee's just going to out-athlete them. I think Tennessee's going to have a lot of momentum on their side as they head into Gainesville in a couple weeks after that, in that week 3 matchup. I think Tennessee's going to look good week 1. It's essentially a home game in Nashville. They're going to out-athlete Virginia. They're going to go try to make a statement too. They got to get Joe Milton comfortable, let him hit some of those deep shots, that trajectory right. I like Tennessee minus 28 here. I like Tennessee minus 28. Then the big one, Sunday night of week 1. Camping World Stadium in Orlando, LSU returning the trip to Florida State from the rematch in New Orleans last year where Florida State the best of them. Right now, LSU minus 3. This one in the South Carolina getting 2 against North Carolina is the interesting one. LSU, Florida State. I'm going to spend all summer studying this one. I am not ready to predict this one. Interesting, LSU's favorite. I think both these teams are playoff contenders. I don't think they're national title contenders. I don't. I think both of them have too many holes right now. I don't think they're national title contenders, but playoff contenders, true playoff contenders. Again, I only think there's 3 or 4 teams that are truly national title contenders. We'll talk about that later. Gun to my head, though, right now, I take LSU in that one. I think they're going to have a chip on their shoulder coming in real fired up. I think a whole year Matt House having to study that offense at Florida State. LSU feeling a little embarrassed. Florida State coming into their backyard in the Superdome last year and beating them on a lot of special teams blunders. I think LSU is going to come out and show out. I think there'll be a talk of week 1 as well heading into week 2. I would take LSU right now, minus 3. But, hey, not ready to give you my final predictions on college football. It's way too early. We're talking June 12th. I'm going to do my SEC series 1 team at a time. That's going to be over 7 weeks, 2 teams each week on Monday and Thursday shows. But I would take LSU as we stand right now. Getting a little bit ahead of myself, giving you that schedule. Just thought I'd tell you, not ready to give you my full predictions, but I would take LSU right now. If you're asking me at 8:49 on June 12th, I would take LSU minus 3. But those are the week 0, week 1 odds right now. Like I said, the main ones that kind of stick up, I think Alabama, Auburn, and Texas A&M are getting a ton, about 40. And I think the 2 most intriguing ones really are South Carolina plus 2 and LSU minus 3. The two games I'm most confident in are the week 0 games. Vandy minus 18 at home against Hawaii, easy. I'm taking the doors. And then I think Utah covers plus 10 against Florida. Again, not a huge Florida fan right now. Get to see it to believe it. But again, we got game 3 of college. We got an SEC team about to first pitch in probably about 10 to 15 minutes there. Remember, game 3, winner goes to Omaha to face LSU in the first round. We could have an SEC on SEC matchup Saturday night in Omaha. Congratulations, Southern Miss Tennessee. Your reward for advancing to Omaha, your first round matchup is Paul Skeens. But again, go get on your ESPN Plus app. Go get on your YouTube channel. Go subscribe to whatever. Go watch this game. It's going to be fun. It's not starting at 9 o'clock. There's a reason this game is going to be started late. I know it's rain, but I have a feeling it's going to be a fun, exciting matchup. We'll have the Omaha field, all 8 teams set after tonight. The other one's Texas, Stanford. I think Stanford was winning that before I got on the show. But again, we covered a lot. We talked big get for Alabama, but season-changing get potential with Grant Nelson, massive. The North Dakota State transfer is heading to Tuscaloosa to play his last year. Super regional matchups, or super regional wrap-ups. We got the Omaha. We're 2 teams away. We got 6 already punched. We got 2 SEC teams in. Florida's in. LSU's punched their ticket in. Tennessee could be the 3rd one tonight. And we talked a little week 0, week 1 college football betting odds. Went through about 9 matchups from the SEC. But again, I will just to pre-warn you, I will not have a show this upcoming Thursday. We're going to regather on Monday. I will be on a vacation with my wife. She would kill me. And I don't want the Wi-Fi. I don't know when it's Airbnb. I don't want to put people out here and the quality is bad. We're going to be putting out solid quality. So we will not be on Thursday. Our next show is going to be next Monday. So stay tuned for that. We'll probably go back to 7 o'clock. I'll keep you updated. But again, the next show will be next Monday, most likely at 7 o'clock, but I will keep you updated on that. But again, I appreciate you joining us. A lot of good stuff. Love going live with you guys. Hope you have a great rest of your week.